Hey everyone, welcome to Prod School. I'm back with another PM interview breakdown. And today, we're tackling the question type that kills most candidates, metrics and analytical reasoning. If you're breaking into product management, metrics questions are where dreams go to die. But here's the thing, they don't have to be. While everyone else panics, I'm going to show you the exact systematic approach that gets offers. Let's be honest about what happens. You walk into an interview and they hit you with, Prime signups dropped 15% last month. What would you do? Your mind goes blank. You throw out random ideas like check the data or improve marketing without any structure. The interviewer sees through it and you're done. Here's the truth. Metrics questions aren't testing whether you know every possible cause of decline. They're testing whether you can think systematically under pressure. Can you ask the right questions? Can you prioritize what to investigate first? That's what separates offers from rejections. That's why I brought in Ana Rodriguez, who went from consulting to landing PM offers using the exact framework we're covering today. Ana cracked the metrics interview code as a complete outsider, and she's going to show you exactly how. What makes this different? We're using the real Amazon Prime scenario Ana faced in her Amazon interview. You'll see her work through the problem step by step, make mistakes, recover, and deliver the systematic analysis that gets offers. Here's how to maximize value from this interview. First, when Ana starts analyzing, notice her questioning strategy. She doesn't dive into solutions, she builds understanding first. This approach works for any metrics question you'll face. Second, watch how she structures her thinking out loud. It's not about having the right answer immediately. It's about demonstrating logical problem solving. Ana shows her work and explains her reasoning. That's exactly what interviewers want to see. Third, focus on how she connects insights to business recommendations. It's not enough to identify that Prime signups are declining. You need to show what Amazon should actually do about it. The scenario centers on Amazon Prime subscription metrics, which is perfect for aspiring PMs because subscription businesses have clear success indicators. You'll see how to break down customer journeys, identify barriers, and propose solutions that balance customer value with business objectives. Here's what most candidates miss. Metrics questions aren't really about the metrics. They're about thinking like a PM under pressure. Can you stay calm with unfamiliar data? Can you ask smart, clarifying questions? Can you develop and test hypotheses systematically? That's the real skill being evaluated. Ana demonstrates something crucial, how to handle uncertainty without panicking. You don't need to know everything about Amazon's business model to provide valuable analysis. You just need a systematic approach and confidence to work through problems step by step. The question Ana tackles is exactly what you'll see in Amazon interviews and similar metrics-focused companies. Not theory, but a practical scenario where Prime behavior is changing and the company needs to understand why and what to do. Before we start, grab something to write with. Ana's framework works best when you follow her logic. Try to anticipate her next question before she voices it. This will help you internalize her systematic approach. Whether you're coming from consulting, engineering, marketing, or any background, this shows you can master metrics interviews with the right framework and practice. Ana proves PM interview success isn't about years of experience. It's about demonstrating structured thinking. Most PM content treats metrics questions like advanced topics only senior PMs handle. That's wrong. Whether you're interviewing for APM programs or your first PM role, you'll face these questions. The good news, the framework is totally learnable. One final note, this isn't just about Amazon interviews. The systematic thinking Ana demonstrates works for metrics questions at any company. Master this approach and you'll handle whatever scenario they throw at you with confidence. All right, let's see how aspiring PMs ace metrics interviews. Here's Ana working through the Amazon Prime scenario that could make or break your next interview. Let's dive in.
Thanks for joining us today, Ana. I want to dive into a real metrics scenario that we see frequently in FAANG interviews. Here's the situation. You're a PM for Amazon Prime, and you've noticed that new subscriptions are down 25%, while cancellations have increased 10% over the past quarter. This is hitting your team's dashboard, and leadership wants answers. Walk me through how you'd approach this.
This is definitely a critical situation that needs immediate attention. A 25% drop in new subscriptions combined with a 10% increase in cancellations suggests we're facing both acquisition and retention challenges simultaneously. Let me start by applying a systematic root cause analysis framework to understand what's happening before jumping to solutions. First, I need to clarify the scope and validate the data accuracy. Can you tell me what specific time frame we're comparing? Are we looking at quarter over quarter, year over year, or month over month trends?
This is Q3 compared to Q2 data, so quarter over quarter. The decline became noticeable about 3 months ago and has been consistent since then.
Got it. And just to validate the data integrity, are we confident in these numbers? Have there been any changes to our tracking methodology, attribution models, or data collection that might affect the accuracy of these metrics?
The data is solid. Same tracking methodology, same definitions. No technical issues affecting measurement.
Perfect. Now, for geographic scope, is this decline happening globally, or are we seeing concentration in specific markets like the US, Europe, or other regions?
This is specifically U.S. market data. Other international markets are showing different patterns.
That's helpful context. Now I want to understand the customer segmentation. You mentioned new subscriptions are down broadly, but for the cancellation increase, is this happening uniformly across all customer segments, or are we seeing specific patterns by demographics, subscription tenure, or usage behavior?
The sign-up decline is pretty broad across customer types. However, the cancellation increase isn't random. It's concentrated around specific points in the customer lifecycle.
Interesting. When you say concentrated around specific points, are you referring to particular timeframes after sign up or perhaps around renewal periods?
Good intuition. Keep working through your analysis, and let's see where you land.
All right, let me systematically work through potential root causes using a structured approach. I'll examine external factors first, then internal factors, and finally data-driven hypotheses. External factors analysis, starting with competitive landscape. Have there been any major competitive moves in the subscription commerce space? New entrants, aggressive pricing from Walmart Plus, or significant service enhancements from competitors?
No major new competitive launches. Walmart Plus has been running some promotional campaigns, but nothing dramatically different from their usual marketing approach.
What about macroeconomic factors? Given that Prime is a discretionary subscription for many customers, economic conditions could significantly impact subscription decisions. Have there been changes in unemployment rates, inflation, consumer confidence, or broader e-commerce spending patterns that might explain this behavior?
There's been some economic uncertainty, but consumer spending on e-commerce has remained relatively stable. Nothing dramatic enough to explain a 25% decline in signups.
And from a regulatory perspective, any changes in shipping regulations, tax policies, or digital service legislation that might affect subscription businesses or customer perception of value?
No regulatory changes that would impact Prime operations or customer value proposition.
Internal factors analysis. Since external factors seem relatively stable, let me examine what Amazon might have changed internally. The timing is specific. 3 months ago, was this a sudden drop or a gradual decline? And was there a particular event, announcement, or change around that time frame?
The decline became apparent about 3 months ago and has been fairly consistent since then rather than a sudden drop.
Let me think about service changes first. Have there been any modifications to the Prime value proposition? Changes to shipping speed promises, Prime Video content library, removal of benefits, or alterations to existing features?
No major service reductions. Prime Video library has remained consistent, shipping promises are the same, core benefits haven't been reduced.
What about the customer acquisition funnel? Any changes to marketing strategy, advertising spend allocation, targeting criteria, promotional offers, or messaging that might affect conversion rates?
Marketing approach has been relatively consistent. Same channels, similar budget allocation, core messaging hasn't changed significantly.
Here's what I'm starting to suspect, especially given the 3-month timing. In subscription businesses, the most impactful change that affects both acquisition and retention is typically pricing. Have there been any adjustments to Prime subscription pricing, either annual fees, monthly fees, promotional pricing, or student and family plan pricing?
We did implement a price increase for Prime annual subscriptions from $119 to $139 about 6 months ago.
Ah, now we're getting somewhere. That's a $20 increase, which represents about a 17% price hike. Pretty substantial. But I'm curious about the timing disconnect. You mentioned the price increase happened 6 months ago, but we're seeing the impact manifest 3 months ago. Can you help me understand how this pricing change was rolled out?
The price increase went into effect immediately for all new subscribers 6 months ago. However, existing subscribers only experienced the increase when they reached their individual renewal dates.
Perfect. That explains the timing perfectly. If someone signed up in January, they wouldn't see the price increase until their January renewal the following year. And if the pricing change started 6 months ago, we'd expect a rolling wave of cancellations as existing customers hit their renewal dates over time. Going back to your earlier hint about cancellations not being random in the customer life cycle, I'm guessing they're concentrated around renewal periods when customers first encounter the new pricing?
Exactly. About 75% of the cancellation increase is happening within 30 days of renewal dates, with the highest concentration in the first week after renewal notices are sent.
And for the new sign-up decline, I assume that started immediately when the new pricing went into effect 6 months ago and has been relatively consistent since then?
Correct. New sign-up conversion rates dropped when the pricing change was announced and implemented and have remained at the lower level since then.
Excellent. Now I have a clear picture of what's happening. We're experiencing two related but distinct impacts from the pricing strategy. Impact number one, new customer acquisition. The higher upfront annual price of $139 is creating sticker shock for potential new customers who previously would have converted at $119. Impact number two, existing customer retention. Long-term subscribers who originally signed up at the lower price point are hitting their renewal dates, seeing the increase, and a percentage are choosing to cancel rather than continue at the higher price.
Prime provides tremendous value. Free shipping alone can save customers hundreds of dollars annually, plus Prime Video, Prime Reading, and numerous other benefits. From a pure value calculation, why would a $20 increase cause this level of price sensitivity?
You're absolutely right that the rational value calculation should strongly favor Prime membership, even at $139. However, customer behavior around pricing isn't always purely rational, and several psychological and behavioral factors are likely at play here. Behavioral economics factors. First, there's loss aversion. People feel the pain of losing $20 more acutely than they appreciate the equivalent value they're receiving. Customers focus on paying an additional $20 rather than the hundreds they're still saving. Second, anchoring bias is working against us. Existing customers are anchored to the $119 price point, so $139 feels expensive relative to their reference point, even though it's still objectively good value. Third, we likely have customer segmentation issues. Not all Prime customers utilize the service equally. The customers we're losing might be primarily shipping-focused users who don't engage with Prime Video, Prime Photos, or other ecosystem benefits. For them, they're mentally comparing shipping costs to $139, and that value equation might not work. Usage pattern analysis. I'd hypothesize that we're losing customers with lower engagement scores, people who signed up primarily for shipping, order infrequently, and don't use additional services. Meanwhile, customers with high engagement across multiple Prime benefits are likely renewing despite the price increase.
That's an interesting hypothesis. If we're losing price-sensitive, low-engaged customers while retaining high-value, engaged customers, couldn't this actually improve our unit economics and overall customer lifetime value?
That's a brilliant point, and you're potentially right from a pure subscription revenue perspective. If the customers were retaining order more frequently, engage with Prime Video regularly, try new Amazon services, and have higher lifetime value, we could actually be financially better off even with fewer total subscribers. However, I'd be concerned about several strategic implications. Ecosystem impact considerations. Prime isn't just a subscription revenue stream. It's Amazon's competitive moat that drives broader ecosystem engagement. Even low engagement Prime members might shop on Amazon more frequently than non-members, provide valuable customer data, and have higher switching costs to competitors. Market share and competitive risks. If we're losing customers to save $20, some percentage will likely shift to Walmart Plus or distribute their shopping across multiple retailers. This could hurt Amazon's market share and reduce the network effects that make Prime valuable. Long-term growth implications. We might be optimizing for short-term unit economics while potentially constraining long-term market expansion and customer acquisition.
Good points about total ecosystem value versus subscription metrics. Let's assume we've determined that this subscriber loss is problematic for Amazon's broader strategic goals. What would you recommend doing about it?
I'd approach this with a structured action plan across 3 time horizons. Immediate actions for the next 30 days. First, I'd conduct a deep dive analysis on churning customers to validate our hypotheses. I'd segment customers who canceled after seeing the price increase versus those who renewed, analyzing their engagement patterns, purchase history, Prime benefit usage, and total Amazon ecosystem value. Second, I'd optimize our renewal communication. When customers receive renewal notices with the higher price, we need to immediately demonstrate value. I'd implement personalized value messaging, showing specific savings. You saved $247 on shipping this year, or you watched 15 Prime Video series valued at $180. Third, I'd analyze customers approaching renewal in the next 60 days and consider proactive engagement, not with discounts, but with value education and engagement drives to increase stickiness before they see the price increase.
If you start reaching out with special offers or messaging around renewals, doesn't that risk training customers to expect negotiations on price? That could make the pricing challenge worse long term.
Absolutely valid concern. I need to be very careful about not creating a precedent where customers expect Amazon to negotiate on price. My approach would focus on education and value demonstration rather than price concessions. Any pricing flexibility would be extremely limited, only for customers who are demonstrably high value across Amazon's entire ecosystem and positioned as exclusive recognition rather than standard practice. Even then, I'd be hesitant without very clear criteria and limits. Short-term initiatives for the next 90 days. For new customer acquisition, I'd test promoting the monthly payment option more aggressively. At $15.99 per month, it's actually more expensive annually at $179.88. But psychological research shows monthly payments feel more manageable than large upfront costs. Some customers might prefer that payment structure even though they pay more over time. I'd also test different value proposition messaging in our acquisition funnel. Instead of leading with price, lead with value. Save over $300 annually on shipping, plus unlimited streaming, rather than Prime membership for $139. Medium-term strategy for the next 6 months. I'd evaluate whether our value proposition has kept pace with the 17% price increase. Are we adding enough new value to justify the higher price? This might mean enhancing existing benefits, adding new services, or improving the user experience significantly. I'd also explore tiered pricing options. What if we offered Prime Essential with shipping and basic streaming for $99, while maintaining full Prime at $139? This could capture price-sensitive customers we're currently losing while preserving the premium tier for customers who want comprehensive benefits. The challenge would be ensuring minimal cannibalization of premium subscriptions, but it might be better to have customers on a basic tier than lose them entirely.
Well, how would you measure success for these initiatives? What metrics would tell you whether your approach is working?
I'd establish a comprehensive measurement framework with both leading and lagging indicators. Leading indicators with weekly and monthly tracking. Renewal rate improvements, especially in that critical 30-day post-renewal notice window. I'd want to see this trending back toward historical levels. New sign-up conversion rate improvements, particularly if we implement payment option changes or messaging optimizations.
Early engagement metrics for new subscribers. Are they finding value faster in their first 30 to 60 days? Higher early engagement typically predicts better retention. Customer service contact volume around renewals. Decreasing confusion or complaint volume would indicate better communication. Lagging indicators with monthly and quarterly tracking. Total Prime subscriber growth returning to historical trends. Revenue per Prime subscriber, ensuring we're not just optimizing for volume at the expense of value. Most importantly, total Amazon ecosystem engagement from Prime members. This would include incremental purchase behavior, cross-service adoption, and advertising engagement. Key success metric. The North Star metric would be Prime ecosystem value, a composite score combining subscription revenue with incremental Amazon purchases, service adoption, and other behaviors driven by Prime membership. Because if we recover subscription numbers, but those customers don't increase their Amazon engagement, we haven't solved the fundamental business problem.
Okay, so what if you implement all these optimizations and the negative trends continue, despite your efforts?
That would be challenging, but not necessarily surprising, and it would provide important strategic insights. If we optimize our approach comprehensively and trends still don't reverse, I'd need to consider that we might have reached natural market saturation limits. Maybe we've already captured most customers willing to pay $139 for Prime, and the remaining addressable market simply won't convert at that price point. Strategic pivot considerations. If that's the case, the strategy would shift from growth-focused to value maximization from existing customers. This might involve more aggressive international expansion where price sensitivity curves might be different. Targeting B2B customers with Prime business programs that can justify higher price points. Developing family or multi-user plans that provide better per-person value for households. Alternative strategic directions. We might also need to consider whether the pricing increase was premature or whether we need to fundamentally rethink the Prime value proposition for a more price-sensitive market segment. The key would be determining whether we have an execution problem we can solve through better messaging and customer experience, or whether we're hitting fundamental market constraints that require completely different strategic approaches. Data-driven decision-making, I'd run controlled experiments to test our assumptions. If optimized renewal communications don't improve retention rates, or if promoted monthly pricing doesn't increase acquisition, that would provide clear signals about whether this is fixable through execution or represents a deeper market dynamic.
Any final thoughts on how you'd approach this scenario?
This case really illustrates how pricing decisions create complex ripple effects that extend beyond immediate revenue impacts. The $20 increase might be perfectly justified from a value perspective, but customer psychology, market dynamics, and competitive positioning are equally important considerations. The most important lesson is that metrics changes rarely have single causes. This situation involves pricing psychology, customer segmentation, life cycle timing, and ecosystem effects all interacting together. My approach would be staying hypothesis-driven, testing assumptions carefully, and ensuring that whatever solutions we implement support Amazon's broader ecosystem strategy rather than optimizing for Prime subscription metrics in isolation. The goal isn't just recovering subscription numbers, it's ensuring that Prime continues to serve as the competitive moat that drives customer loyalty and ecosystem engagement across all of Amazon's businesses.
Excellent analysis, Anna. You demonstrated exactly the kind of systematic thinking and strategic perspective we look for in senior PM candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. This was a great case that really showcased how complex subscription business dynamics can be.
That was an incredible demonstration of systematic thinking from Anna. What you just witnessed is exactly how aspiring PMs can approach complex metrics problems using frameworks that work at any level. Let me break down the key insights that separate structured analytical thinking from reactive problem solving. First, notice how Anna approached the initial diagnosis. When the interviewer presented the prime metrics decline, Anna didn't jump straight into solutions or guess at obvious causes. She methodically worked through external factors first, then internal factors, using systematic questioning to eliminate possibilities. This is root cause analysis thinking at the business level, not just symptom level guessing. Second, watch how Anna handled the discovery of the pricing issue. When she identified the $20 price increase, she didn't just say, "found it and move on." She connected the timing patterns, validated her hypothesis with the renewal data, and explained the psychological dynamics driving customer behavior. This shows understanding of how business decisions create delayed reactions in customer metrics. Third, the most impressive part was Anna's thinking about business impact. When the interviewer challenged her on whether losing price-sensitive customers was actually negative, Anna didn't give a simple yes or no answer. She explained the ecosystem implications, competitive risks, and long-term strategic considerations that make this more complex than pure subscription revenue. That's the kind of business judgment companies look for. Fourth, notice how Anna addressed solution complexity. When the interviewer pushed back on retention tactics, potentially training customers to expect discounts, Anna immediately recognized the long-term risk and adjusted her approach. She didn't defend her initial idea, she evolved it based on business constraints and strategic implications. Fifth, the way Anna handled measurement and validation was particularly sophisticated. Instead of just proposing solutions, she outlined leading and lagging indicators, success criteria, and a framework for evaluating total ecosystem impact rather than just subscription metrics. The analytical framework Anna demonstrated applies to any metrics challenge. Start with systematic hypothesis formation that eliminates external factors before investigating internal changes. Use data patterns to validate or refine your hypotheses rather than jumping to conclusions. Develop solutions that consider both immediate impact and long-term strategic implications. Here's the systematic thinking process you should master. First, approach metrics problems with structured questioning that eliminates possibilities rather than guessing at likely causes. Second, understand customer psychology and behavioral economics, not just rational value calculations. Third, connect individual metrics to broader business ecosystem dynamics. Fourth, balance short-term recovery tactics with long-term strategic integrity. Fifth, develop measurement frameworks that capture both direct effects and indirect business impact. Finally, communicate analysis with appropriate confidence levels and acknowledged uncertainty rather than false precision. The business thinking Anna demonstrated throughout this interview, understanding price elasticity, customer lifetime value, competitive dynamics, and ecosystem effects, this is what companies actually test in metrics interviews. They want to see if you can think systematically under pressure and connect data insights to business strategy. Notice how Anna balanced the immediate need to recover metrics with the risk of undermining pricing strategy, managed multiple considerations from customer psychology to competitive positioning, and addressed both acquisition and retention challenges through integrated solutions. Most importantly, watch how she handled uncertainty and complexity. She didn't pretend to have all the answers, but she provided frameworks for testing assumptions and measuring success. She acknowledged when problems might represent natural market limits rather than execution failures. This kind of systematic analysis and solution development is what metrics PM interviews actually test. Whether you're preparing for associate PM roles, startup PM positions, or interviews at major tech companies, this analytical approach will set you apart from candidates who treat metrics questions like guessing games. The scenario we just analyzed, pricing strategy impact on subscription metrics, represents one of the most common challenge areas in product management. Pricing affects customer acquisition, retention, competitive positioning, and brand perception simultaneously. Anna's ability to navigate these interconnected effects while maintaining focus on actionable recommendations demonstrates exactly the analytical thinking that gets offers. Before we wrap up, grab the complete metrics analysis framework template in the description. It includes every step of Anna's diagnostic process, plus additional examples and common pitfalls to avoid when approaching business metrics challenges in interviews. One more thing, if you're currently preparing for PM interviews, try applying Anna's systematic approach to practice problems.
Start with external factors, move to internal changes, validate your hypotheses with data patterns, and develop solutions that consider business implications. This framework works for any metric scenario you'll encounter. Whether you're coming from consulting, engineering, marketing, or any other background, Anna proved that systematic thinking and business judgment matter more than years of PM experience. Master this analytical approach, and you'll handle any metrics challenge with confidence. Thanks for watching. Keep practicing these frameworks, and remember that great PMs aren't born, they're systematically developed. I'll see you in the next one.